Hey everybody, this is Sabrina. Welcome back to my channel. So Fridays are all about my reading journal or planning videos. This week we're going to update my reading journal for May. I read a total of 13 books. A big chunk of them were actually romance books and memoirs, which is always interesting. It's interesting to see what kind of happens during the month based off of what's available through my library. I started off the month with First Time Caller from B.K. Borison. I think I'm saying her last name right, but I love her Love Lights Farm series, and this book was just as good. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Another romance I really loved was May Luna. I think that one was recommended to me, and I listened to it Kindle Unlimited for free, and I was just crying and not happy with the ending necessarily, but I really enjoyed the overall romance story. Same thing with Promise Me Sunshine and Say You'll Remember Me. So loved those, and I'll talk about the memoirs in a little bit. So I colored in the appropriate boxes. I have this whole key in the back of my journal. It's a very complex key that I came up with, but it works and I love it. And I'll probably do it for next year. But I color in how many boxes are worth. Some of the boxes are worth like 5. Some of the boxes are worth 2. So it's just a matter of coloring them in. And with the nonfiction, I am a little over halfway done with nonfiction, and I have one of the 3 sections of 50,000 pages filled in, which is very exciting. So May was really hard to pick a favorite book because, like I said, I'm a big romance fan, and there was just a lot of great romance books, but I decided to go with Say You'll Remember Me. Loved that one. Moving into the stats, I have, again, 13 books. I think, and this is the part where I always get mixed up. That's why I took it out of these stats. But Kindle, I have a hard time keeping track of Kindle. But it was 8 books and then 5 on audio. So at least I know that part. And my overall rating was pretty high for this month at 4.4. So once I have all those stats in, which I'll go into more detail once we get to the actual stat making page, but that's a quick way to just see an overview. And then on this page, again, just a quick overview to see how many books I've read. I can't remember how many boxes I did. I wish I would have written like 100, whichever box was 100, but last year in 2024, I wrote out the number for each of the boxes and totally goofed. So I wasn't going to do that this year. But I did color in 13 boxes for May and then just added May on top. Now the first lines, what I wanted to show you was that I had thought one spread left and right was going to be enough for 90 first lines. I have barely gotten to 35. So I'm kind of pausing on the first lines and rethinking it, and then maybe I will get back to it. I also filled in 2 ratings for the 15 books and 15 friends, the Book of Doors, and May Luna. Now ABC, I think I added 3. Mike Rowe, I listened to his memoir the way I heard it, and it was fantastic. And I decided to put his book in W. I mean, it's my challenge. I can do what I want, right? I also added F, which is First Time Caller, and J, James, the book that is from Percival Everett. I think I'm saying that right. So added in 3, and then for the genres and the romance, I drew the boxes for the romance totally tilted, so I'm trying to make it straight as I glue them down. And again, I read, I think 6 romance books. Is a really great month for romance. Now on the genres, I feel like I need to go back and somehow fix it because I want to make sure that I'm accurate with my audio and my nonfiction and my memoirs. But at this point, I'm halfway through the reading journal, so maybe why bother? I'm also getting a little mixed up with this particular challenge, the Book Girls Challenge. I'm kind of reading some books out of order and some not, But I did finish the one for the topic was writers and editors. I put Great Big Beautiful Life, and I also finished up the 40s category. So Jan and Dan at the End of the World. So I'm not really finishing each of these in the month that I'm supposed to. May, I got lucky, but I don't think for a lot of the months I'm going to wind up doing that because I think I am behind overall. But I have an orange Post-it note. You guys saw that. So that will help me kind of keep track of when I read the books. I really do enjoy the Book Girls Club challenges. I love them. I discover new books. And also some of the books that I've been wanting to read just happen to fall into the categories that they have, which makes it like a double win, I guess you could say. Now, when I put this reading journal together, I wanted to somehow make it easier to put together my calendar and also my shelves of books. And that's why I decided on monthly aspect with the shelves and using Canva. So I made this template in Canva and also the calendar in Canva. And then I just printed them on matte sticker paper and adhered them to each side of the page. And I absolutely love it. I'm trying to think of other ways that I can print out pieces for each month, like a graph or a pie chart, and just make it quicker. Same thing with like my reviews. I figured out this year how to make my reviews quicker. So now I just need to figure out how I can make the stats quicker because it's a long process to stamp out all the different stats. I mean, I could really just go with printing out the Storygraph stats, but then, that would just be printed out, stick it on, and then I don't know, how would I talk to you guys about all the books and all the updating? That's the tricky part. So you can see for May, I also put down, well, actually I did this not just for May, but every single month for the whole year, I put down a washi tape to kind of guide me with my color scheme. So I'm going with olive greens, another variety of green, and then a bunch of different pinks, and then a neutral tan color. And I like it. I thought like Mother's Day, I should have something floral. I don't know. I was just going with that and I like it. It's kind of a challenge for me to use this much pink paired with a olive sage green, I guess you could say, but I'm making it work. And I've got all of the books colored in. I wrote in the titles of the books. I write them in and I skip one and then I'll write one in and skip. So that way it fills in the shelf a little bit more. And then I wanted to go back to my other pages to see how I wrote things. I think that's what I was looking for. I was trying to figure out how many stamps I used, and I didn't want to repeat any stamps. I don't know why that was like a thing I was thinking about, but I was like, I don't want to repeat a stamp that I did just last month or the month before. I don't know. Silly, I know. But I decided to go with Big Book Energy, Make Time to Read on the second shelf. And then at first I had glasses on the top shelf, but I remembered that I just got Jennifer's gardening stamp set. So I am going to use the flower and also the butterfly. And of course, you just saw my iPad. I use that. I keep it open to my Goodreads and also the Storygraph app. So that way I can refer to that as I'm filling out these pages. I also had this open book that said all-nighter. And so I stamped that and then kind of tried my best to scrape off any ink that wound up on the words all-nighter. But it got a little messier than I wanted, and you definitely couldn't tell, but I did not want to take the extra time to use a piece of washi tape to completely block off the words. So it's my own fault if it looked a little messy. But the finishing touch is that gardening stamp that I just got from Jennifer, Syncopation Designs. And I just stamped the flower in various spots and then also the butterfly. The butterfly was supposed to be kind of a tan color, but it almost wound up like a pale yellow. So I think I used the wrong one. I've always thought of this ink as like a tan. It's called antique linen. But I don't know. It doesn't look like linen to me. It just looks light yellow, not such a tan color. So after I finished First Time Caller, I listened to the Mike Rowe book, which he tells in like little bite-sized stories, and I love his voice. I love his narration. Also love Dirty Jobs, so he's just fantastic to listen to. I then worked on the Book of Doors, which was recommended to me. That was definitely an interesting book. Not something I would have probably normally picked up, but I did enjoy it. And I also did Jan and Dan at the End of the World towards like the middle of the month, and that one was kind of a weird book, but it was short, so that was nice. And I also liked how it was older characters working on their marriage, which is not a theme to me I've found that often in the books that I've found to read. So that was really, really fantastic to see, because Jan and Dan are struggling a little bit with their marriage and they're in their mid-40s, but in the end, they know what's worth fighting for them. I also stumbled on the memoir, The Third Gilmore Girl, and goodness, I can't remember her name. Kelly Bishop, is that it? But I've never watched the Gilmore series. I really need to. And I listened to her, like I said, I listened to her memoir, and I didn't really know much about her, but she is so fascinating, and just her whole outlook on life is just like can do. Like, how can I make this work? And also, if life is going to give it to me, then life is going to give it to me. And if not, then it's just not my right time. I loved her perspective on everything. I also listened to Mark Hoppus's Fahrenheit 182, the Blink 182 singer. Absolutely loved that, because Blink 182 is a band I listened to in high school. And so I loved his memoir. I'm telling you, May was a really great month for reading. It was just fantastic. So I started off by stamping May stats, and I actually took my pencil and tried to make things quicker by sketching out how things were going to look and where everything was going to go. It does help to have everything sketched out, but honestly, I'm leaning towards, the Storygraph printout that I talked about earlier, or printing out a sheet of numbers and then like on clear sticker paper and just cutting out the clear sticker number that I need. So like right now I'm stamping my percentage of nonfiction in hours listened. And so I would use a cutout of a 3 and a 1. So I don't know. I'm just thinking about it. Even though it's only, almost September. I'm always thinking of ways that I can make my reading journal easier, because I love documenting my reading, but at the same time, I don't want to take away too much time from reading or anything else. But also, I'm just very busy. Anyways, for nonfiction, I read 31% was nonfiction. Hours listened was a little bit lower at 39.87 hours. But I don't know. That happens maybe. It was towards the end of the school year. I also want to figure out on Canva how I can input a graph, like a certain set of numbers or something, and then it can give me the graph, because I definitely want to print out a graph. I'm tired of making graphs. They're just wonky and not easy for me, so I'd rather print it out. I had 3.75 all the way to 5 stars. And then, so I just drew the bar graphs. The highest one I had was actually 4.5 with 4 books having that. And it's, again, probably because of all the romances that I read, because I just really enjoyed them. And I mentioned earlier the rating was 4.4. And above the rating, I'm going to do the physical, Kindle, and audio. And again, I don't really need the Kindle, because I always forget like which book was a Kindle and which was not. I hardly ever get Kindle books, because I don't know how it is at your guys' library, but from my library, the books that take the longest to get an opportunity to read or listen to are the Kindle or audios. So it's just better if I order the book, or even large print. Large print is how I get books a lot of the time. That's kind of my cheat code. I don't know what it's called, but I don't mind reading large print if I can kind of cut the line. So there's my big old secret. I also had 3 books that were 4.0. And right now I'm currently reading Lloyd McNeil's Last Ride. It's a very interesting book. I don't want to give anything away, but I think you guys should check it out. It's very interesting. I should be able to finish it today. I can't wait to see what's going to happen. And then the book that I'm listening to is called Remember by Lisa Genova. She was the author of Still Alice. So this book is all about memory and your brain, and it's very interesting. I just haven't had a lot of time to listen this month, going back to school. So it should be interesting to see how my August stats come out. I put a sticker well read right next to my hours listened, and I like how that sticker turned out. And once I put that sticker there, I knew I was probably going to grab the Cut Shop printable kit, well read, and then just try to figure out if there's any pink or the green color embellishments that I could use. I stamped 7 physical, 1 Kindle, and 5 audio because I think vaguely that's what I came out with as far as what I was reading. Now, down at the pie chart, that's another thing I'd love to learn on Canva, so I could just make my pie chart, input the numbers, get a sticker, and move on. I finished outlining that I want to say pie chart, but it is the pie chart. So I got finished doing the pie chart, the circle, and also the boxes and underlining for this various emotions, but I'm going to go back to that in a little bit and fill them in with the various colors. I'm just kind of bouncing around this page all over the place. No real order to what I'm doing, so I apologize if this is bugging you if I'm not doing it in a succinct type of order. I went back up to the hours listened and wrote in hours listened because I had written it right after, or tried, and it got a little smeared. So that's why I went back, and after it dried, I wrote hours listened. I also love including a large number font for the total number of books. So I picked out one, and it's from Allie Edwards. And it just says 13. I also use my Tombow to draw a few lines, and I'll use my Sharpie to write total books. And next to that is the total number of pages read, which was 4,594. So a lot of pages read during the month. So love reading, and I'd love to know what you guys are reading in the comment section. I love when you guys share that with me. So I think I'm going on next to the genres. And when I looked at the genres, I was like, wow, when I go to do my stats, I have 10 different genres. For May, because I read mainly romance and memoir, I only had a handful of different genres. So I'm like, well, I guess I'm just going to stick some washi tape down to cover up a line instead of using whiteout, because that doesn't usually work. So the genres were memoir, of course, romance, literary, magical realism, music, historical, and biography. And that's it. I stuck to a very narrow portion of genres, which, like I said, sometimes happens. And after I get done with the genres, I'm working on filling in the different pie sections. I was very surprised at the mix of the moods I wound up with for this month. Usually it's emotional, but that was actually second. My first one was funny, and I'm assuming that's because of the romances, maybe. I don't know, but it was funny, emotional, then reflective, then lighthearted, then hopeful, and then other. So a great mix of different moods that I had going on with the books that I was reading. Once I get those colored in, then I just write out that corresponding mood next to the color that it matches. So now I need to just figure out how, what size can I fit in a book cover of my favorite book. And normally I print it on presentation matte paper, but I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna print it on sticker paper. So it's matte sticker paper, and I decided it would be fun to use these books that are from a journaling card. One says fiction, another one says novel, and then the third one on top is green. And I'm like, you know what? It's going to be a big, bold statement right there. And I think it overall balances out. I mean, the left side does feel a little bit not as heavy as the right side, but I'm just going to go with it, have fun, and fill in that space. If I had had more time, I probably would have found the digital file of this journaling card and shrunk down the books so they weren't so big. But I'm using what I have on hand, and I'm proud of myself for sticking with that. But the book I picked was Say You'll Remember Me. I thoroughly enjoyed that book. I love anything and everything that Abby Jimenez, am I saying that right? I love what she writes. So I have also a few different little word phrases that I'm going to put down, like always reading, reading more, this month's reads, and then reading goal. And that'll pretty much wrap up this page. I'm just going to grab that flower stamp and add a few of the flowers stamped in different spots. And that'll be it for my reading journal. So I hope you guys have enjoyed seeing another month of pages come together. I absolutely love having a reading journal and discussing my books with you guys. It is so much fun. Again, tell me what you're reading. I'd love to know so I can add it to my TBR on Goodreads. Thanks so much for watching, and I would love a thumbs up or a subscribe if you are new to my channel. Have a wonderful day. Bye.